Imagine this. It's late. You're crashed on your own couch after a long day, drifting in that half-asleep zone. The room is dark, just a faint glow from the streetlight outside. You feel safe, comfortable, home. Your girlfriend, Sarah, thinks you're completely out, then ... You hear them. Whispers at first, just on the edge of hearing. Her voice, and ... his. Mark her just a friend from work. They're in the next room thinking the walls are thick enough, thinking you are oblivious, but you're not asleep. Not anymore. Every nerve in your body is suddenly screamingly awake, yet frozen. You don't move a muscle. You barely breathe. You just ... listen. And that's when the whispers turn into words, real words. Plans, their plans. Shift tone. Build tension. This was my reality. Sarah and I had been together for 3 years. I thought we were building something real, saving for a place, talking about maybe ... more. Mark was always around. He's just a buddy, she'd say. Work stuff. I believed her. I trusted her. Our apartment wasn't huge. That night, lying perfectly still on that couch, I wasn't just overhearing some casual chat. This wasn't a secret joke or gossip. This was a conversation that felt like ice water poured straight into my veins. They weren't talking about a date next week. They were talking about a life, their life together. Names for kids they'd never have with me, cities they'd move to. Using the savings we built, discussing my stuff, our stuff like it was already theirs to take. The sheer audacity of it, planning their future, right there, in my living room. While they thought I was unconscious just feet away. Cliffhanger, unresolved tension, every word was a hammer blow. The betrayal wasn't just emotional cheating. It was a cold, calculated takeover plotted in the heart of what was supposed to be my sanctuary. My chest felt like it was cracking open. Rage, disbelief, and this crushing numbness warred inside me. I lay there, trapped in the darkness, listening to the woman I loved meticulously dismantle everything we had, stitch by stitch, with another man. The details got worse, the plans more concrete. How long had this been going on? How deep did the lies run? And the biggest question screaming in my head, what do I do right now? Do I leap up? Do I scream? Do I let them keep talking? In that agonizing silence, as their future unfolded in hushed, excited tones just beyond the doorway, my entire world crumbled, and I just COULDN single quotes T ... move. Time stopped. Every breath felt like sandpaper in my throat. How could this be real? Sarah's laugh, that light, easy sound I loved, now felt like shards of glass cutting into me. Mark's low murmur, confident, possessive. It twisted something deep inside. They weren't just talking about a future. They were actively building it, brick by stolen brick, right here in the home I paid for, surrounded by our things. Framed photo from our trip to the coast. They joked about replacing it. My grandmother's armchair. Mark mentioned how it would fit perfectly in their new place. The sheer entitlement stole the air from my lungs. Background context, building, the betrayal, thinking back. The signs were probably there, little things I brushed off. Like how Sarah suddenly started working late more often, always with Mark on the project. How she'd get oddly defensive if I casually asked about him. You're being paranoid, she'd say, a flicker of something guilt, annoyance in her eyes. I trusted her. We'd been through so much, my job loss last year, her mom's illness. I thought that hardship bonded us tighter. Turns out maybe it just gave her more excuses to be away. More time with him. The work friend who was suddenly always available. For coffee, for texts late at night, she claimed were just urgent emails. I ignored the gut feeling, the tiny voice whispering that their closeness felt different, wrong. I chalked it up to my own insecurities. Stupid, so stupid, deepening the plot, revealing more layers lying there. Trapped by their oblivious cruelty, the pieces crashed together. That business trip last month, she came back, glowing from probably with him. The sudden push to delay moving in together officially. Buying time and the savings, our savings account I'd been diligently feeding for our future house. They casually discussed dipping into it for a deposit. On their apartment across town. My blood ran cold. This wasn't a fling discovered in a moment of passion. This was cold, calculated, a long-term emotional affair that had morphed into a full-blown escape plan, meticulously crafted behind my back while I played the trusting, oblivious boyfriend. The level of deception was staggering. How many lies had she told? How many nights had she looked me in the eye and promised love while secretly planning her exit with him? Building suspense, unresolved tension intensifies. Their conversation shifted, lowering further. I strained to hear something about a key, a date, next week. My mind raced, trying to catch every fragmented whisper. They were getting up, moving towards the kitchen. The clink of glasses, a toast to their future. The casual intimacy of it, happening just feet from where I lay shattered, was unbearable. Rage warred with a crushing despair. Part of me wanted to explode off that couch, scream, throw something. The other part was paralyzed, a deer in the headlights of my own ruined life. What proof did I even have besides overhearing this? Would she lie her way out of it? What would I say? What would I do? The floorboards creaked under their feet. They were coming back towards the living room, towards me, still pretending to be asleep. My heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. I braced myself. The footsteps stopped. Silence. Were they looking at me? Did they know? The air crackled. Their footsteps paused right at the edge of the living room rug. My whole body was rigid, every muscle locked tight, eyes squeezed shut beneath my lashes. I could feel them standing there, just beyond the arm of the couch. Was Sarah looking down at me? Was Mark smirking? The silence stretched, thick and suffocating, broken only by the frantic drumming of my own pulse in my ears. Did they suspect? Had I made a noise? A twitch panic threatened to choke me. Playing dead. I had never felt so terrifyingly real. Then, Sarah sighed, a soft, contented sound that cut like a knife. "He's out cold," she murmured, her voice laced with a relief that shattered another piece of me a long day. Mark chuckled low, the sound vibrating with a familiarity that felt obscene in my space. "Good," he replied, his voice closer now. "Maybe leaning against the doorframe means we can talk freely." They moved past the couch, heading towards her bedroom, our bedroom, their footsteps receding down the hall. The door clicked shut softly. Only then did I dare let out the breath I'd been holding, a shaky, silent gasp that did nothing to ease the crushing weight on my chest. Alone in the dark living room, the enormity of it crashed over me again. This wasn't just about stolen moments or whispered secrets. It was a full-blown conspiracy unfolding under my own roof. The work trips, the sudden overtime, the way Sarah had become distant, blaming stress, it all clicked with sickening clarity. Mark wasn't just some colleague. He was the architect of this betrayal. I remembered how he'd started showing up more, always with an easy smile and a just dropping this off as Sarah excuse, how he'd complimented our apartment, asking about the renovations I'd done. Had he been casing the place even then, mentally moving in while I played the oblivious host? The financial angle was a fresh wave of nausea. Our savings, the account we'd painstakingly built, dollar by dollar, dreaming of a house, maybe a family, to hear them discuss it like it was their personal slush fund, a down payment on their escape. The violation was profound. It wasn't just my heart broken, it was the future I'd worked for, meticulously planned with her, being dismantled and stolen. How much had she already siphoned off? Were there hidden accounts, fake expenses? The trust wasn't just shattered, it felt like the entire foundation of my life had been exposed as rotten timber, and the sheer audacity of planning their life here, using my couch, my kitchen, the walls I'd painted, as the backdrop for their betrayal. Discussing replacing my photos, giving away my furniture, plotting their next steps while I lay right there. The disrespect was staggering. It wasn't just cheating. It was an invasion, a hostile takeover of everything I held sacred. Lying there, utterly alone in the aftermath of their retreat, the questions multiplied like poisonous vines. How long? Months? Years? Who else knew? Were her friends covering for them? Laughing at me behind my back? And Mark, what was his endgame? Just steal my girlfriend? Or was he after everything, my home, my savings, the life I'd built? Rage simmered, hot and dangerous, warring with a paralyzing grief. Confronting them now, raw and unprepared, felt like walking into a trap. They had the narrative, the secrecy, the audacious confidence. I needed something, proof, leverage, a way to expose the depth of the emotional affair and financial betrayal without letting them twist it or vanish into the night with my money. But what my mind raced, fragmented and desperate, as the muffled sound of their quiet conversation drifted faintly from the bedroom, a constant, torturous reminder that the enemy wasn't outside. They were already inside the walls, planning their victory while I lay stranded on the battlefield of my own living room, completely unprepared for the war they'd already started. The silence of the apartment now felt like the calm before a storm I didn't know how to survive. The silence after their bedroom door clicked shut was worse than the whispers. It was heavy, accusing. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic prisoner desperate to escape. Every instinct screamed to storm in there, to rip their perfect little fantasy apart with my bare hands. But the cold, logical part of my brain, the part that felt like it was operating on fumes, held me back. Rage wouldn't win this. I needed proof. Solid, undeniable proof of the emotional affair, the financial betrayal, the whole calculated deception. Moving felt like wading through concrete. Every creak of the floorboard under my bare feet echoed like a gunshot in the tense quiet. I couldn't risk them hearing me. Not yet. My target wasn't the bedroom, was Sarah's study, the small nook off the living room where her tablet usually lived, plugged in beside her work bag. She was careless with passwords, often leaving it unlocked. A flaw I'd never exploited. Until tonight. The sheer wrongness of invading her privacy ward with the desperate need to understand the depth of her betrayal. Was this crossing a line? Absolutely. But lying on that couch, hearing them plot their future with my life savings, that felt like the real violation. The tablet's glow was a cold beacon in the dark study. My fingers trembled as I tapped the screen. Please be unlocked. It lit up. Nope. A sickening mix of relief and disgust washed over me. Her trust in my ignorance was absolute. I dove straight for her messages, searching for Mark's name. The sheer volume of texts took my breath away. Months, pages and pages of messages stretching back months, not just flirty banter, deep, intimate conversations, shared dreams, complaints about me, planning their secret meets, the late work nights, the business trips. My stomach churned. Here was the undeniable evidence of the emotional affair, documented in cold, digital ink, but I needed more. The savings account. I switched to her banking app, my hands slick with cold sweat. Logging in felt like trespassing into a crime scene. And there it was, the joint savings account, the one I'd poured half my paycheck into for years. Recent transactions glared back at me. 2 large transfers, labeled vaguely expense reimbursement and consulting fee, sent to an account I didn't recognize, dated last week. The exact amounts they'd casually discussed using for their deposit. The reality hit like a physical blow. She wasn't just planning to steal our future. She'd already started. The financial betrayal was real. And it was happening now. A noise, a soft thud from the bedroom hallway. My blood froze. Were they coming out? I fumbled frantically, trying to take pictures of the messages and bank transfers with my own phone. The camera app seemed agonizingly slow. Click, click. Each snapshot felt like stealing a piece of my own shattered life. The tablet's battery icon flashed a warning. 5%. Panic surged. I wasn't done. I needed emails, maybe photos, proof of the apartment hunting, the key they mentioned. Footsteps. Clearer this time. Soft padding on the hallway floor. Heading towards the living room, towards me. They were definitely up. Adrenaline spiked, sharp and metallic. I jammed the tablet back onto its charger, wiping the screen frantically with my shirt as if I could erase the digital fingerprints of my intrusion. My own phone clutched tightly in my shaking hand, the damning photos safely stored. I had seconds. Should I bolt back to the couch, pretend I'd just woken up, or stand my ground? The footsteps paused just outside the study door. The handle started to turn. Light from the hallway spilled into the dark room, framing the silhouette in the doorway. I stood frozen, caught in the act. The glow of the tablet screen illuminating my face like a deer in headlights. My heart stopped. Time stopped. It wasn't Sarah. It was Mark, bleary-eyed, holding a glass of water. He blinked, surprised, his eyes darting from my face to the tablet on the desk, then back to me. A slow dawning realization and alarm spreading across his features. The air crackled with unspoken accusation. The carefully constructed wall of lies teetered on the brink. In that suspended, breathless moment, everything hung in the balance. He knew I knew, and I knew he knew. The fragile pretense shattered completely. What happened next would change everything. Mark froze in the doorway, the glass of water trembling slightly in his hand. The dim light from the hallway carved harsh shadows on his face, his eyes wide with shock, then rapidly narrowing into something harder: fear, calculation. He saw the tablet, still glowing faintly on the desk beside me. He saw my phone clenched in my white-knuckled fist. He saw the raw, undisguised horror and fury on my face. The air between us crackled, thick with the unspoken truth. The charade was obliterated. "Jake," he finally croaked, his voice unnaturally high. What are you doing?" The sheer audacity of the question, the pathetic attempt at normalcy, almost broke me. "You know exactly what I'm doing, Mark," I hissed, my voice low and trembling. With barely contained rage, "I heard you everything." I didn't elaborate. Those 2 words I heard landed like stones. His face paled visibly, even in the gloom. He took a half step back, glancing nervously down the hall towards the bedroom. "Jake, man, it's not what you think, not what I think." A harsh, disbelieving laugh escaped me. "Planning your life with my girlfriend in my house, talking about my savings, labeling transfers." I took a step forward, my own fear momentarily eclipsed by the white-hot fury. "Tell me, Mark, what part of that am I misunderstanding?" He flinched, his eyes darting again towards the bedroom. He was scared of me, but also, I realized with a fresh wave of disgust, scared of her hearing this, scared of the plan unraveling. "Look," he whispered urgently, lowering his voice even further. "You need to calm down, Sarah. She doesn't know I'm out here. We can talk. Just keep your voice down." The plea was desperate, manipulative. He wanted control. He wanted to manage the explosion. The financial betrayal evidence burned in my phone, a physical weight demanding action. "Talk. What's left to talk about? How you've been systematically stealing from me. How long this emotional affair has been poisoning. Everything." My hand tightened on my phone. "I have it all. Mark, the texts, the transfers, proof of the lies, proof of the theft." His eyes locked onto the phone, genuine panic flashing across his face. The financial angle, that was the real vulnerability. The texts were damning, but money was concrete, prosecutable. "Jake, please," he breathed, taking another step back, almost stumbling. It's complicated. You don't understand the whole situation." He ran a hand through his hair, looking genuinely terrified now, but not just of me. There was something else, a deeper layer of fear. "Explain it then," I demanded, my voice still a dangerous whisper. Explain why my girlfriend and her work friend are plotting their future with my money in my living room while I'm supposedly asleep on the couch. Explain the transfers labeled consulting fee. I took another step, closing the distance. Explain it right now. He swallowed hard, his gaze flicking past me, towards the tablet, then back to my face. The silence stretched, agonizing. He looked cornered, desperate. When he finally spoke, his voice was barely audible, shaky, and laced with a shocking confession that ripped the rug out from under everything I thought I knew, because she promised me it was over with you months ago. Jake, Mark whispered, his eyes wide with a frantic, shared terror. She showed me ... papers, said the apartment was hers, said the savings, half of it was legally hers already. She told me you were the one clinging on, refusing to accept it was over, that you were ... unstable. She said if we were careful, planned it right, we could just slip away, start fresh, with what was rightfully hers. He paused, his voice dropping even lower, trembling. But those transfers, Jake, she told me you authorized them, that it was part of the separation agreement she claimed you'd finally agreed to. The room tilted. She promised him it was over. Paper's separation agreement. Sarah hadn't just cheated. She hadn't just stolen. She'd constructed an entire alternate reality for Mark, painting me as the delusional ex, refusing to let go. The level of manipulation, the cold-blooded fabrication, was staggering. My own savings, our savings, she'd framed as her rightful share, already settled. She'd made me the villain in their twisted love story. The financial betrayal was real, but the emotional sabotage, the gaslighting orchestrated not just against me, but using Mark as a pawn it was monstrous. Before I could process this horrifying new layer, a floorboard creaked loudly in the hallway. Soft footsteps approached. Light flooded the study doorway more fully. Sarah stood there, silhouetted, her expression unreadable for a split second before it shifted. Surprise, then a flicker of alarm seeing Mark and me facing off, tension radiating off us in waves. Her eyes darted from Mark's terrified face, to my furious one, to the tablet still faintly glowing on the desk behind me. Jake, Mark, she asked, her voice carefully neutral but a tightness around her eyes betrayed her. What's going on out here? It's the middle of the night. She took a step into the room, her gaze sweeping over us, assessing the wreckage of her meticulously constructed lies. The predator, sensing her carefully controlled game, was suddenly, dangerously off script. The silence now wasn't just heavy, it was explosive. 3 people, 3 shattered versions of the truth, standing in the ruins of trust. The next word spoken would ignite the powder keg. Sarah stood frozen in the doorway, her eyes darting between Mark's terrified face and my own, which must have been a mask of pure, incandescent fury. The silence was a physical thing, thick and suffocating. Mark looked like he wanted to vanish. Into the floorboards, he opened his mouth, maybe to spin another lie, but I was done. Done with the whispers, done with the games, done with her. It's over, Sarah, I stated, my voice surprisingly steady, cold as ice. It cut through the tension like a knife. I heard everything, everything. I held up my phone, the screen glowing in the dim light. I have it all. The texts planning your little life, the bank transfers, the consulting fee you stole from our savings to fund your escape with him. I jabbed a finger towards Mark, who flinched again. Her carefully constructed composure cracked. Panic flared in her eyes, quickly masked by a flood of tears. Jake, baby, no, please. It's not like that, she cried, stepping forward, hands reaching out pleadingly. You misunderstood. Mark was just ... helping me plan a surprise for you. A trip. That's what the savings were for, he was just advising. The sheer breathtaking audacity of the lie, delivered with such practiced desperation, almost made me laugh. A surprise trip, I echoed, my voice dripping with venom. To the apartment, across town you and Mark were picking out, the one you discussed our furniture fitting into, the one you talked about raising kids in, while you thought I was asleep on the couch. I took a step towards her, forcing her back. Stop lying to me, stop lying to him. I gestured at Mark, whose face was now ashen. You told him we were already separated. Sarah, you showed him fake papers. You told him I authorized those transfers. You painted me as the crazy ex. You lied to both of us. Mark made a choked sound. Sarah whirled on him, her expression shifting from fake sorrow to sheer panic. He's lying, Mark. Don't listen to him. He's unstable. Just like I told you. He's enough. My roar echoed in the small room, silencing her. I turned my phone screen towards Mark, scrolling quickly to the damning pictures of the bank transfers, clearly labeled, unauthorized, sent to an account under a name he probably recognized. See for yourself, Mark. See the theft. See the proof she lied to you too. She used you just like she used me. Mark stared at the screen, his face crumbling. The last vestiges of belief in Sarah's story vanished, replaced by dawning horror and humiliation. He looked at Sarah, not with love, but with a kind of sickened disgust. You told me it was yours, he whispered, his voice raw. You said he agreed. You said I wasn't the other man. Sarah was frantic now, looking between us, seeing her carefully woven web disintegrating. "Mark, please." He manipulated the evidence. "I can explain." But Mark was already backing away, shaking his head, looking physically ill. "No, no more lies." He looked at me, a flicker of something like shame in his eyes. I didn't know, Jake, not about any of this, not the money, not the ... the depth of it." He turned and practically fled down the hallway, grabbing his coat from the rack near the door. We heard the front door open and slam shut a moment later. He was gone. Sarah stood alone in the doorway, exposed. The tears were real now, but they were tears of panic, of a plan spectacularly exploded. "Jake, please," she sobbed, collapsing against the doorframe. I was scared. I didn't know what to do. I made a mistake. I felt nothing but cold emptiness. The rage was still there, banked now, replaced by a profound exhaustion and disgust. A mistake. Months of lies, theft, constructing an entire fantasy life at my expense. That's not a mistake, Sarah. That's calculated betrayal, emotional affair, financial fraud. I took a deep, shuddering breath. "I want you out. Tonight, take whatever you claim is yours, but nothing from the joint account. I've already frozen it. The evidence stays with me." I held up my phone again. "If you try to fight me on the money, if you try anything, I take this straight to the police and a lawyer. Understand?" She stared at me, her face pale, realizing the game was truly over. The consequences were real: financial ruin, legal trouble, social annihilation when the truth got out. She nodded mutely, a broken, pathetic figure. I turned away, unable to look at her anymore. "Pack your things. Be gone by morning." I walked past her, heading for the couch, the same couch where this nightmare truly began. I sat down heavily, the adrenaline crash making me tremble. I heard her start to move, slow, shuffling steps towards the bedroom. The apartment felt hollow, violated but finally mine then. Just as I thought the worst was over, she paused in the hallway. Her voice, when it came, was small, broken, but it carried a final, devastating bombshell that froze the blood in my veins all over again. "Jake," she whispered, barely audible. There's something else, something I haven't told anyone, not even Mark. That's why I panicked. That's why I felt so trapped, why I thought I needed the money ... needed to run." She took a shaky breath. "I'm pregnant." The words hung in the air, shattering the fragile silence of my hollow victory. Pregnant, the ultimate twist. Was it mine? Was it Mark's? Was it even true, or just another desperate lie? The carefully resolved conflicts suddenly felt like distant tremors before an even bigger earthquake. I sat rigid on the couch, staring into the darkness of my ruined living room. The future I thought I'd just reclaimed ripped wide open once more, leaving only a terrifying, unknown void. The silence now wasn't just empty, it was filled with a deafening echo of a single life-altering word. Pregnant. The word pregnant hung in the air like poison gas. All the cold fury, the hollow victory, the exhaustion, it vanished, replaced by a terrifying, icy numbness. My mind went blank, staring at Sarah's crumpled form in the hallway. I couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. Was it mine? Was it Mark's? Was this just another desperate, monstrous lie to manipulate me, to buy time, to claw back some control after her entire web of deceit collapsed? The silence stretched, thick and suffocating. Sarah watched me, tears streaming silently now, waiting for my reaction. The emotional affair, the financial betrayal, the calculated lies, they paled against the sheer, terrifying weight of that single word. My future, which had just snapped back into some semblance of control, dissolved into a terrifying unknown abyss. Finally, I found my voice. Rough and unrecognizable. "Get out." The words were flat, devoid of anything but finality. "Pack now, take only your personal things, nothing shared, nothing from my home." She flinched but didn't argue. The fight had drained out of her, replaced by a hollow, broken resignation. She pushed herself off the doorframe and shuffled towards the bedroom. The sound of her movements, small and pathetic in the vast silence of the apartment. I stayed on the couch, the same couch, ground zero. I heard drawers opening and closing, the soft rustle of clothes being packed. Not my problem anymore. The financial fraud evidence was secure on my phone. The joint account was frozen. She wouldn't touch another cent. That part, at least, was resolved. The theft stopped. The immediate threat to my security, my hard-earned future, was contained, but the cost was everything else. As the first gray light of dawn began to seep through the blinds, Sarah emerged. One suitcase, a small duffel bag. She paused near the door, looking impossibly small and lost. She opened her mouth, maybe to say something, maybe to plead again, maybe to confirm or deny the pregnancy bomb. "Don't," I said, my voice still that awful, flat monotone. I didn't look at her. "Just go. We're done. Completely done. Any communication goes through my lawyer from now on. About everything." I stressed the last word, leaving no doubt that included the devastating question hanging between us. She hesitated for a second longer, a flicker of something unreadable in her red-rimmed eyes. Then, without a word, she opened the front door. The cool morning air rushed in, carrying the scent of damp pavement. She stepped through, pulling her suitcase behind her. The door clicked shut, not a slam, just a soft, final click. The silence that followed wasn't peaceful. It was the silence of utter devastation. The affair was exposed, the liar gone, the financial betrayal halted. Mark was out of the picture, likely reeling from his own brutal awakening to her manipulation. But the apartment felt empty, violated, not like a home. The trust wasn't just broken, it was pulverized, and that single, unanswered question, the potential consequence of her betrayal, loomed larger than all the lies combined. I sat there as the sun rose, casting long, sharp shadows across the room where they'd planned their stolen future. The victory felt hollow, the relief non-existent. I had stopped the immediate bleeding, protected what was mine financially, and exposed the truth. But the scars, the deep emotional wounds, and the terrifying uncertainty of her final claim, that was the legacy. The journey through betrayal was far from over. The battle for my future, my peace, maybe even my identity as a potential father, was just entering a new, agonizing chapter. Healing wouldn't be found in this apartment. It would be a long road, starting with a single, necessary, terrifying step, a paternity test. The dawn light revealed the wreckage, but it offered no answers, only the harsh, clear reality of starting over from absolute zero. The only thing reclaimed was the truth, and the quiet, painful dignity of surviving the emotional gut punch. The rest was still unwritten.